I want to remind you that you guys have been split into teams, and that very soon you will be collaborating in a project as a team, making a team effort, and you will be collaborating in the writing of a screenplay. Right now, you're supposed to be in the middle of a project where you guys are supposed to have chosen already a screenplay to read. Are you guys reading your screenplays already? The ones that you chose? Can somebody tell me can somebody tell me what they're reading? So it's like a teenage romantic thing, right? Is that it? Okay. Who else? What else? Is anybody else read? Everybody's supposed to be reading something. Yes, yes, sir. Casablanca, dude. That's romantic. That's crazy romantic. Yeah. And Casablanca, which is one of the movies that I use as an example in the previous lesson. No, the one before the previous lesson. It's considered by many the best romantic movie of all time. So, sir, if you're reading Casablanca, you are reading gold. Congratulations. Anybody else? I like Casablanca. I have it. I own it. Yeah, he was looking at you, kid. Who else? Sure. Go ahead. Okay. Is there a question there, sir? Because I'm not understanding what you're saying. For you to choose the paradigm and watch a movie and make a map with one or the other. Remember, it's not both. You use the hero's journey if you want to use that one, or you use the paradigm, which we're going to be talking about today. It's in my website. All you have to do is get it there. It's there. You download it and you do it there. And the hero's journey is not a chart. The hero's journey is a circle, like a clock. And you put the different parts of events of the movie. What? Exactly, because that is the shape of the story. It's just the shape is a circle. You understand? That's why you have to use. I told you to find the sheet there. So you have to find them. Okay. And if it's the Sid field paradigm, today I'm going to go into details. If you chose that one, that's why I told you wait until the end of the week because you don't have to turn this in until later, maybe Monday. Okay. All right. So any other question, guys? No. Okay, then let's move on to today's lesson. You know that we were talking about different paradigms in our approach to screenplay writing, and we explored two. We explored the hero's journey in a little bit of detail, and we kind of flew over the Sid Field paradigm. Today we're going to go into more detail because it is much more detailed. So today's lesson is titled Writing a Screenplay, the Sid Field Paradigm. So let's see what this paradigm is all about. Remember that Sid Field is this guy. He's known as the father of structure, and that's the person that I told you that he said that you can never make a good movie with a bad screenplay, and that the screenplay is the foundation of your movie. You're gonna build your movie on top of that screenplay. That's why the screenplay is so important. Everything comes from the screenplay. Everything that everybody else in the movie does, be it the director, be it the actors, be it the producer, whoever they are, everybody's work is informed by the screenplay. And we define screenplay as a story that is told with pictures and dialogue and description and placed within the context of dramatic structure. And that is a structure that I have explained over and over again through a series of lessons. And there's a structure that you learned in the literature course, right? Which has introduction, raising action, climax, and denouement or falling action and conclusion. That is the dramatic structure. And you can apply that to either the hero's journey or the Sid Field paradigm. In our case, right, in the case of the Sid field paradigm, screenplays have a basic linear structure that creates the form of the screenplay. Instead of a circle, this time it's going to be a line that is going to hold all the individual elements and pieces and put the story in its place. Remember that we said that plays usually have a three-act structure: Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. And Sid Field's paradigm recognizes that, but he has different names for it. If we looked at the Sid Field paradigm, it will look something like this. Notice that Act 1, he's calling the setup. In other words, the setup is when you're preparing something, you're taking the first steps toward creating something. That will be the setup, right? And that's what happens in Act 1. Then in Act 2, which he called the confrontation, is where you have the bulk of the story. And finally, Act 3, he's going to call the resolution, because that's where the conflict or the problem that needs to be solved where will be solved or not, because we have the climax there in that part called that he calls resolution, the third act. Questions so far? It's very clear, right? This is very easy. Okay. And this is something you're going to have to apply when you write your screenplay. Okay. It's very important that you do so. We're going to explain each component of each act. I want you to look at something. Note that there are lines here. Make believe that this is your typical feature film. How long did I say your average or typical feature film is? How long are they? 120 minutes, which equals how many hours? 2 hours, your typical movie. I'm not saying that all movies are 2 hours. Okay, they can be shorter, they can be longer. But your typical movie is your typical movie is 2 hours. Now, look at those lines. Imagine that the entire line is 2 hours long. The first third of the movie would be the first 30 minutes. For the first quarter of the movie, I mean. This is 30 minutes long. So act one in a movie is supposed to be something like half an hour, 30 minutes. Then we have act two, and you'll notice that act two is twice as long as act one. If I say that act one is like half an hour of the movie, well, it's the biggest chunk of the movie. How long is it? 1 hour. The second act will be like 1 hour of the movie. And finally, the third act will be like the last half hour of your movie. Are you seeing it there? Can you see it? Half an hour, 1 hour, half an hour. There you have it. Okay. That's more or less. It's not written in stone. Okay. What you don't have is a 1 hour long third act in a 2 hour movie, right? That's not how it works. We have to maintain this proportionality for the movie to feel um, normal. Okay. If not, it will be kind of weird. Okay. Remember that, as I said, Act 1 has the first 30 minutes, Act 2 has 60 minutes, and Act 3 had the final 30 minutes. Let's look at each act to see what each act has. If you notice, one of the things that you see in the acts is something called plot points. You have a plot point in Act 1 and another one in Act 3. According to Field, each act is supposed to be separated by the plot points. When the plot point happens, you move to the following act. So where's plot point one? At the end of act one, because what that's going to do is going to change the direction of the story. Once plot point one happens, the movie enters act two. And at the end of act two, you have plot point two, and that moves you into act number three. Exactly. Okay. Plot points are also known as reversals, because this is an event that thrusts the point. I'm sorry, it thrusts the plot in a new direction. You feel that the movie is moving and the story is moving in a certain direction, and then all of a sudden something surprising happens, and you move into a new direction. And the problem changed in Star Wars. How many of you have seen the original Star Wars, Episode 4? You've never seen Star Wars, guys? In serio, really? Guys, do you like movies? You don't like movies, but have you seen it? Have you seen Star Wars? Well, how can you say I don't like it if you haven't seen it? Star Wars is fantastic. Star Wars is a fantastic movie. It's a groundbreaking movie. It's one of the greatest movies ever made. I saw Star Wars when I was 14 years old, guys, and it changed my life. To this day, the greatest cinematic experience I have ever had in my life, and I go to the cinema, and I'm a filmmaker, and I love movies. The greatest cinematic experience I've had in my life up to this day was watching Star Wars way back in 1977 when I was 14 years old. It was Nothing else has come close to it. I have had great cinematic experiences, but nothing stands to that. Nothing, nothing. Is Star Wars the best movie ever made? No, it's not. But it is a fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, you need to do yourself a favor. You need to watch it. I'm going to use the example of Star Wars here because Star Wars has a protagonist that is called Luke Skywalker. Okay, he's our hero, and Luke is a farmer in a moisture farm. He lives in a desert planet called Tatooine, and he lives there with his uncle and his aunt. They raise him up because he's never met his mother and he never met his father. He's never met them. He doesn't know who they are. He's been told that they died, and he was raised up by his uncle. So one day, his uncle comes across two robots that he acquires that have secrets from the evil galactic empire. The evil galactic empire has made their ultimate weapon, which is a gigantic space station called the Death Star. And there's a civil war. There's a war going on because people want to destroy the evil empire because it's evil. So the rebels, who are the heroes, right? The rebels are fighting against the Imperials, against the empire. They send spies to acquire the secrets of this deadly station, and those secrets are hidden inside one of the robots that his uncle purchases, buys. Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is our mentor, is a man that fought during the Clone Wars, and he's a very important person who's hiding in this planet he's been hiding there for years. You're not going to know why until later on in the story. But the fact of the matter is they have those robots not knowing that the Empire is tracking them. They want to get these robots back because they don't want the secret to be revealed. And while Obi-Wan and Luke are talking, and Obi-Wan is extending an invitation to Luke to go with him to take those robots to the rebels. Luke says no, I can't because my uncle needs me at the farm, and my uncle is real hard with me and all that, and I'm afraid of him, and I can't go. I want to, but I can't go. Well, you see the story's going in a certain direction here. That's the first act. What happens that when he's going to take Obi-Wan Kenobi to the airport and leave him there, he comes across the people that sold them the robots, and they are dead. And he's thinking, wait a minute, why are these guys dead? And Obi-Wan tells us because they're looking for the robots. And then he thinks, oh, wait a minute, they probably went home. And when he goes back to his house, you see those pictures there. That's why he finds. What do you see there? They killed his uncle and his aunt. They burned them. So what does that do? If the reason for Luke staying was that he had to be there helping his uncle, and there's no any uncle anymore, what's going to happen to the story? Is it is it gonna go? Is it gonna move in the same direction? So you see how a plot point happens. You see what it does. Exactly, exactly, exactly. So you see how it works. So now Luke is gonna go back to Obi-Wan and tell him, Uncle Dad, let's go on this adventure. And the movie goes now in a different direction. And now we enter the second act. So you see how this works, guys? Any question? Okay, so what happens in Act One? We have the exposition or introduction, which is what you learned in the dramatic structure in literature, right? We're introduced to our main character, we're introduced to the setting, and we're introduced to the conflict. Once all that happens, you have plot point one, and you end up in the second act. That's the setup. Now our adventure begins, and there you have some information on Act One. I want you to read that. It talks about the opening image. The way you open a movie is very important. You always have to show something that is impressive, that grabs your audience attention. So you begin showing something that is interesting. And Star Wars begin with a classic scene that is in cinematic history. It is historical because nobody had ever seen an entrance like that before. If you saw Star Wars, you know how it begins. Very exciting. It's very exciting. So it has a fantastic opening image. Then we have the exposition, right? Right. We hear about the robots and the Death Star and all that. The inciting incident is the catalyst. So what sets things in motion? What sets things in motion are the robots landing on this planet. They're escaping. And one of the robots had the secret, remember, the secret plans of the Death Star. And then we have plot point one, which ends the first act. Then we move on to the second act. And as I told you, that is the biggest chunk of the movie. It represents half of the movie. Half of your movie will be Act Two. And that's where most of the action happens. We have something called obstacles, where the main character encounters many, many obstacles that keeps him from achieving his goals or satisfying his needs or her needs. Okay? We're going to have something called the first culmination. We have the midpoint of the story, and we have something called pinch one. We've been seeing Star Wars already for a while, but in the second act, many things have happened already. We need to be reminded what this movie is about because many things happen. They encounter many things, many aliens, many different situations, many obstacles, many new characters also arrive. But so people will not lose track of what this thing is about. We use something called pinch number one. Now, when we talk about pinch, what is a pinch? What do you call pinch in Spanish? Exactly. Exactly. Un pellizco. You know, when you have you, but you have not answered my question. Have you ever been pinched? Have you been pinched? Have you been pinched by mom? Never. Yes. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. This is going. I'm going somewhere with this. Okay. You said you were pinched by mommy. Question: why did she pinch you? Were you misbehaving? Oh, you were misbehaving. And what do you think she was trying to communicate with the pinch? Remember that the proper way to behave is not this. And she pinches you, right? Mira, er. And and all of a sudden that pinch what reminds you that whoop, wait a minute, that hurt. I'm behaving bad. That means I have to behave how? Good. All right. ¿Verdad? So a pinch does the same thing here. It's a reminder. The same way that your mommy reminded you of a pinch, hey, behave. A pinch in a movie, I mean, it's not painful, right? In a movie, maybe I don't know. In a movie, it's reminding you, hey, remember, this is what the movie's about. Don't get distracted with all these things that you see happening, with all these aliens and all these spaceships and all these battles and all these things. The movie's about this. And what is Star Wars about? Star Wars is about this battle, this civil war between people that love freedom and liberty and democracy that we're calling the rebels against these evil, totalitarian, authoritarian, evil, corrupt people known as the Empire. That's what the movie's about these freedom fighters that are fighting for freedom, for liberty. They want to free the galaxy of this evil government. Is that clear, guys? Okay. I'll get to that. I'll get to that in a second. In Star Wars, what would Pinch One look like? Well, since the Empire is the evil part in the movie, they are represented by their soldiers. Their soldiers are guys that have like a white armor that we're going to call the stormtroopers. And when our protagonist and his mentor find a spaceship that can take them to the planet where they need to go to take these secrets, these robots, um, the Empire finds them. They've been tracking them. They're looking for them because they want those robots back. And they start shooting at them. They attack them when they get on board the ship, and they escape, narrowly escape from being shot to death. And we're reminded, remember, stories about these bad guys against the good guys. So that would be pinch one, when the Millennium Falcon, which is the spaceship of the movie, is escaping from the stormtroopers that are shooting at it in the airport, in the spaceport, in the city of Mos Eisley. Um, we're gonna have a second pinch at near the end of the second act. It's gonna be another reminder. Remember, you're seeing all these things, but remember, the movie's about this, and again, it involves a stormtrooper shooting and all that. It's always being reminded, okay? Because it's 2 hours of movie. People need to be reminded. So, are you seeing how this works? And then we have plot point two, where the story is going in a certain direction, then it moves in a different direction, right? We think that the good guys are escaping because they were at the Death Star. They ended up there, of all places. They end up there, and they have to escape. And they rescue Princess Leia and all that. And they escape, and they think that everything's cool. But what they don't know is that the bad guys, the Empire, put a tracking device on their spaceship, and they know exactly where they're going to. And that's going to change things again. All right, guys, you need to watch. You need to see Star Wars. Then we have Act Three. And Act Three, we're going to have the confrontation. What Sid Field calls the confrontation. It's like the final battle, right, against the big boss or the evil group or whatever the problem is going to be confronted there. In the case of Star Wars, this movie is a battle. It's called the Battle of the Death Star over the moon called Yavin 4. And there's this big battle in that space station. If the rebels do not destroy that space station, Yavin 4, which is the headquarters of the rebels, will be destroyed. And it's going to be the end of the rebels, of the good guys. So there's this battle there, and it ends it culminates in the climax. They have to destroy this space station, which is the ultimate weapon of the Empire. If this thing is successful, they're going to build more of these, and everybody's going to be screwed. So if anybody saw Star Wars, you know how the battle ends. I'm not going to tell you how the battle ends at the climax, but you cannot miss it because it's super clear what the climax will be. A very famous climax also in movie history. So in Act 3, as we said, we had the showdown, which is this battle. And then we have our climax, the resolution. And then we have a tag. A tag is like after the climax is you tie up loose ends. In Star Wars, the movie ends with a celebration, right? After the climax. I'm not saying who was celebrating what because you have to watch the movie, right? But it's also what we call an epilogue. Where at the end of the story, after the climax, after our heroes have either succeeded or failed, we see what happens. We see the aftermath. In a movie like Avengers Infinity War, what would be the tag? Who remembers? Because you guys did not see Star Wars, but you saw Infinity War, right? What first of all, what's the climax in Avengers Infinity War? You guys told me already. What is it? When Thanos goes snap, And he did what he wanted. And what did he want to do? Kill half of the universe. He won. Snap, half of the people that you know are dead in that moment. That's the climax. What is the tag? What happens after Snap? Why did Thanos want to kill half of the universe? There's a reason why. Oh, I am evil. That's not the reason. He thought he was solving the biggest problem of the world. He thought he was the universe. He thought he was solving all social problems, that he was solving hunger, that he was solving poverty. He thought he was making the universe a better place. He said the universe has limited resources. Everybody is competing for them. People suffer when they're competing for these resources. So if I kill half of people, there will be enough for everyone and everyone will be happy. I know it's crazy, but it makes sense in an evil kind of way, right? That's why he did it. So at the end, what happens with Thanos and the tag? What's the tag? He isn't he at the end in his home planet in a farm, a nice quiet farm, a nice house, and he sits there and he's like relaxing, enjoying life, relaxing. Like, hey, I accomplished my mission. Now I'm going to relax for the rest of my life in my farm. Isn't that what they show? A beautiful place. It looks like a very beautiful, idyllic place. And that's where the movie ends. That's the tag. The tag is they tie up everything. They give closure to the story. Okay, he killed everyone. What happened? What did he get out of that? Well, now he's happy. He's content. He thinks that he did something good. The end. That's a tag. So you see how a tag what a tag is. So here you have a chart that recaps the Sid field paradigm, Acts 1, 2, and 3, what is supposed to happen there. And here you have your second project. I know you haven't finished your first project yet, but here's your second project. And your second project, which is due November 13, that's in 2 weeks. So that's a while away. Team leaders, you're going to meet with your teams as much as necessary, and together you're going to collaborate with your peers, with every single one of them. Nobody can be left behind. And you guys are going to write a screenplay. How long? Between 5 and 6 pages long. And in addition to that, you're going to use a Sid Field paradigm map sheet to map out your story there, your screenplay, after you have written it. This has a value of 100 points, and the protocol is available in my website. It's there. So remember, what you're going to deliver are two things. You're going to deliver a fully formatted screenplay. In our next meeting next week, I'm going to tell you how you format a screenplay, and you turn in a fully formatted screenplay, and you will turn in the map using the Sid Field paradigm, which I told you is already on my website. I told you to download an app called Faden. Did you do that? If you if you haven't, I told you to. I told you it's free. Remember, you don't have to pay for anything because that's going to help you format your screenplay. So don't start writing the screenplay yet. Finish your other projects. Start thinking in story ideas. I might give you some story ideas and start having meetings with your team. See how you can like work with a chat or Zoom or whatever. And when you're finished with your the two things you're working at right now, which is the screenplay report and the story map, whether it's the hero's journey or the Scythial paradigm, then you can start working on this. Questions? No, you're going to make your own screenplay. Well, yeah, you're gonna find that story in your head because screenplays come from can come from two different places. They can come from your head, or somebody else wrote a story and you might want to adapt it. But I'm asking you this time to make an original screenplay that comes from you guys, from the team. So you guys will collaborate with each other, throw story ideas around and all that, following these this structure. I have to see the structure there. You need to have pinches, plot points, all those things have to be in your screenplay. Aren't you excited? This is how a movie is born, guys. This is how a movie begins. You write a story, you write a screenplay.